Point-slope form is one of the trickier things that we teach in linear equations, but it's based off of the slope formula. So if we take this slope formula and solve it for y, what happens is we will multiply by x minus x1 on both sides. And when we multiply by x minus x1 on both sides, what happens is we get y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Now what you would do after this is you'd add y1 to both sides. But this is a useful formula. Specifically, we have y and x, and it has a slope and a point in it. This is what we call point-slope form. Point-slope form has some pros and cons. So the advantage of point-slope form, there are a few. One of the advantages is it's easy to see the slope. Another advantage of point-slope form, you don't need the y-intercept. That's one of the advantages of point-slope form. Another advantage of point-slope form is you can quickly write it from a single point and a slope. Those are the advantages of point-slope form. The disadvantages of point-slope form, well, first of all, it's difficult to see the y-intercept. Another disadvantage is that there are multiple point-slope forms for the same line because you could use different points. Those are really the main disadvantages of point-slope form. Oh yes, there's one more, which is more work needs to be done before it can be graphed in a calculator. You need to get y by itself, and there's technically one more step to do. The last thing that I identify as difficult is the subtraction signs in the formula confuse people. The subtraction in the formula is confusing to some. So to use a point-slope form equation, you'll graph it by graphing the point and then using the slope, just like we would use slope-intercept form. Instead of graphing the y-intercept first, we're graphing whatever point we're told first. To find the x or y-intercept, we do the same thing. We set y equal to 0 or x equal to 0 and solve. And to convert to slope-intercept form, we'll solve for y by distributing and then adding y1 to both sides. So let's graph this and find the intercepts. So the point here, based off of this, the x1 will be positive 2. Y1 will be negative 3. So that's our point. Why would it be negative 3? Well, there's two explanations I can give you. One is there's subtraction in the formula. I told you this would be confusing. There's subtraction in the formula. So it's always the opposite sign. Minus 2 means a positive 2. Plus 3 means a negative 3. The other way of describing it is in order for this to be a true equation, we need this to be 0 and this to be 0. So 2 minus 2 is 0, times anything is 0. And then negative 3 plus 3 is 0. So this point definitely makes it true. That's what it's designed to do. So we go to 2, comma negative 3. And now we use our slope of 1/2, up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2, up 1, right 2. Down 1, left 2. And now we can easily graph that line. So that's our line. The intercepts, it would be easy to see them here. Here the intercept is 8, 0. That's the x-intercept, and the y-intercept is 0, negative 4. So that is how we find intercepts. Now, It is worth noting that you could plug in, say, 0 for x and get y plus 3 equals 1 half 0 minus 2. And when you solve this, you get 1 half times negative 2. So y plus 3 equals negative 1, and subtracting 3 from both sides gives you y equals negative 4, which is the same thing we get here. So this is a way you can find the y-intercept. You do the same thing, but plugging y equals 0 to find the x-intercept. All right, let's do this one. The point should be negative 2 now and positive 3. Remember, x comes first, so negative 2 comma positive 3. And our slope is negative 2/3. So down 2, right 3, down 2, right 3, down 2, right 3. There aren't nice integer intercepts this time, so we're going to have to do a little more work to find them. So in order to find the intercepts for the x-intercept, let's set y equal to 0. So 0 minus 3 equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. Negative 3 equals negative 2/3 x minus 2. Multiplying by negative 3 halves on both sides. We'll cancel out the negative 2/3, giving us positive 9 halves equals x minus 2. And then adding 2 on both sides gives us 13 halves is the x-intercept. Does that make sense? It does not. So where was my mistake? So y is 0. Multiplying by negative 3 halves does give 9 halves. Oh, I just rewrote the equation wrong. Plus, 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 which means we should be subtracting 2. Subtracting 2 gives 5 halves as our x-intercept. That makes more sense. And then for the y-intercept, let's plug in x equals 0. So y minus 3 equals negative 2/3, 0 plus 2. So y minus 3 equals negative 4/3. And now we add 3 to both sides. So y equals 5/3. And that's our answer. To find a point-slope form equation, from a point and a slope, we'll just substitute into the formula. And from 2 points, you'll have to calculate the slope before using either point. So here, we're given an x1 and a y1, and we want it to be parallel to this, meaning it has the same slope of 8. So the formula was y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Y minus y1 was 3, m was 8, x1 was 5. Please note that there's still subtraction in the formula. To find this, we need to find the slope. So 4 minus negative 1 over negative 3 minus 2. If you've forgotten how to find slope, go back to the slope formula video. So our slope is negative 1. And now we can pick either point. I'm going to pick this one to be my x1, y1. Y minus negative 1 equals m was negative 1 times x minus 2. Minus negative 1, you should know, is plus 1. And then minus x minus 2. So that's our equation. Same thing. We want to find the slope here. 20 minus 10 over 9 minus 5 is 10 over 4, or 5 halves. And let's say this is x1, y1. Y minus 10 equals 5 halves, x minus 5. This is definitely faster than finding a y-intercept. Ooh, this one's a little interesting. Perpendicular to this line means that it has a negative reciprocal slope. So we'll say that the slope that we want is not going to be 6/7, but negative 7/6. Go back to the perpendicular line video if you've forgotten how that works. Now, why? minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, x1, y1. So y minus negative 2 equals negative 7, 6 times x minus 2. And minus negative is going to be plus 2, and then minus 2. There we go. Thank you.